You ever deal with someone who lies to you, then acts confused when you notice? Someone who twists things, denies obvious behavior, changes the story halfway through, makes you question your own memory, and somehow, by the end of the conversation, you feel like the unstable one? Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Not random dishonesty, not just toxic people in some vague internet way. We're talking about why insecure people lie, manipulate, and gaslight you, and why the real reason is darker, stranger, and honestly more pathetic than most people realize. Because here's the part most people miss. A lot of insecure people do not manipulate you because they are powerful. They manipulate you because reality makes them feel weak. That's the whole twist. They're not always trying to dominate because they're strong. A lot of the time, they're trying to distort reality because they can't emotionally survive reality as it is. And once you really understand that, a lot of confusing interactions start making sense. Let me ask you something early, because I know this topic brings up very specific people. What was the first sign that someone was manipulating or gaslighting you? Was it the lying, the way they twisted your words, the fake confusion, the guilt-tripping, or the way they made you doubt your own memory? That question alone probably brought somebody to mind immediately. A partner, a friend, a parent, a sibling, a co-worker. That one person who could look dead at the truth and still somehow make the whole room feel blurry. And if you've been through that, you know it doesn't just frustrate you, it destabilizes you. Because when someone lies to your face, manipulates your emotions, and gaslights your reality long enough, the damage is not just in the conflict. The damage is in what it does to your trust in your own perception. That's why this topic matters so much. And this is where Carl Jung comes in. Jung understood something brutal about human nature. People do not only lie to others, very often they are lying to themselves first. That's the deeper engine, the shadow, the denied part, the insecure part, the part that cannot bear shame, cannot bear inferiority, cannot bear being wrong, cannot bear not being enough. So instead of facing those feelings honestly, insecure people often start bending reality, not always because they're evil in some cartoon villain sense, sometimes because their inner world is too fragile to tolerate truth without defense, and those defenses can get ugly fast. Lying, manipulating, gaslighting, blame-shifting, playing victim, acting confused, making you feel like the problem. So let's go straight into it. Here are the real reasons insecure people lie, manipulate, and gaslight you. And yes, some of these are going to feel uncomfortably familiar. 1. They lie because truth threatens the image they need to survive. Let's start here. A lot of insecure people are not just protecting a fact, they're protecting an image. The image of being good, being right, being desirable, being innocent, being in control, being smarter than they really are, being less needy than they really are, being less jealous, less petty, less afraid, less wrong. And the moment truth threatens that image, they panic. That's when the lie shows up. Not always a huge dramatic lie, sometimes a tiny one. A lie about what they said, a lie about what they meant, a lie about where they were, a lie about their motives, a lie about how they really feel. A lie about what really happened. Why? Because to an insecure person, truth is not just information. Truth feels like exposure. And if someone is deeply attached to a certain self-image, exposure can feel almost unbearable. Jung would call this attachment to the persona, the social mask, the polished self, the acceptable self, the carefully managed version of me. The insecure person doesn't just want you to like them, they need the mask to stay intact, because so much of their emotional stability depends on it. So if the truth threatens to crack that mask, they don't calmly say, "Yeah, that's hard to admit, but it's true." No, they lie. Because the lie buys them a few more seconds of protection from shame. A lot of insecure people are not lying because the truth is complicated. They're lying because the truth is simple. And that's exactly what makes it dangerous. If the truth is simple, then they can't hide inside confusion. If the truth is simple, then they have to feel it. So they complicate it, blur it, delay it, twist it. That's why dealing with an insecure liar can feel so bizarre. You're sitting there thinking, this is obvious, and they're acting like the sky is purple and gravity is just a suggestion. Why? Because they are not arguing with reality in a rational way. They are defending themselves emotionally from what reality means. That's a very different thing. 2. They manipulate because direct honesty would make them feel too powerless. A healthy person says what they want, maybe awkwardly, maybe imperfectly, but directly enough. An insecure person often doesn't. Why? Because directness carries risk. If you ask clearly, you might get rejected. If you speak honestly, you might look needy. If you tell the truth, you might lose leverage. If you admit what you want, you might expose how much it matters to you. And insecure people hate feeling emotionally exposed. So instead of asking, they maneuver. Instead of speaking, they hint. Instead of owning, they pressure. Instead of truth, they create little emotional traps. That's manipulation. And it often looks so subtle that people miss it at first. It's the long sigh, the strategic silence, the "I'm fine" that is very much not fine, the sudden sadness that appears right after you set a boundary, the guilt-laced "do whatever you want," the fake indifference, the emotional bait. They don't say, "I want control." They create a situation where your empathy, your anxiety, your confusion, or your kindness starts doing the work for them. Jung would probably say that people manipulate when they are too unconscious to bear their own dependence honestly. That's a powerful idea, because it means manipulation is often a defense against vulnerability. The insecure person wants something: your reassurance, your attention, your agreement, your obedience, your emotional labor. But they do not want to feel the nakedness of simply asking, so they create pressure instead. That's why manipulative people often seem weirdly indirect. Not because they're mysterious, because they're afraid. Afraid that if they reveal their need plainly, they will feel small. So they take the scenic route through your nervous system. And yes, that scenic route is exhausting, because it forces you to feel things they are refusing to hold directly inside themselves. 3. They gaslight you because your clarity threatens their control. Now let's talk about gaslighting, because this one is especially destructive. Gaslighting is not just lying, it's lying in a way that attacks your confidence in your own perception. It's not just, "that didn't happen." It's, "you're imagining things. You always take things the wrong way. That's not what I meant. You're too sensitive. You're remembering it wrong. You're making a big deal out of nothing. You always do this." The goal is not just to escape accountability. The goal is to make your reality feel less solid than theirs. And why does an insecure person do that? Because your clarity is dangerous to them. If you can name what happened clearly, if you can remember the pattern clearly, if you can stay rooted in your perception, then their control weakens. So they need fog, they need confusion, they need second-guessing. They need you asking, "Wait, maybe I am overreacting." That's the opening. That's where they regain emotional power. Gaslighting is often less about making you believe their lie and more about making you stop trusting your own truth. That's why it's so corrosive. Because once you distrust yourself, you become easier to steer. Now they don't even have to win every argument. They just have to keep you unsettled enough that you stop standing firmly in what you know. Jung would likely connect this to shadow defense again. The insecure person cannot tolerate being seen accurately, so they try to disrupt the mirror. And if you are the mirror, the one who noticed the pattern, named the inconsistency, saw the manipulation, then you become dangerous. So they don't just deny the behavior, they destabilize the observer. That's what gaslighting is. It's psychological sabotage against your inner certainty. And people who do this often look calmer than they really are. That's the creepy part. You think, why are they so calm while saying something so insane? Because the calm is often performance. The calmer they look, the more dramatic you can be made to seem by comparison. That is not emotional maturity. That is strategy. 4. They distort reality because shame is unbearable to them. This is one of the deepest reasons insecure people lie, manipulate, and gaslight. Shame, not guilt. Shame. Guilt says, I did something bad. Shame says, there is something bad about me. That second feeling is much harder to hold. Because if a person is carrying deep shame, then every mistake, every contradiction, every call-out, every moment of being seen imperfectly feels enormous, not just uncomfortable, threatening. Now it's not, I made a mistake. It's, I am exposed as inadequate. So what do? They distort reality to avoid touching shame. They lie to cover it, manipulate to redirect it, gaslight to blur it. Why? Because shame is one of the hardest emotions for the human psyche to bear without defense. Jung would probably say that when people refuse conscious contact with shame, it doesn't disappear. It gets defended against through projection, denial, and control. That's exactly what you see in insecure people. They are often not fighting you as much as they are fighting the unbearable feeling of being flawed, weak, needy, or wrong. That doesn't excuse the behavior, but it explains why it can feel so intense over things that seem objectively manageable. You think, why couldn't you just admit that? And to them, that simple admission feels like psychic death. This is why some people will twist reality into a pretzel before they say one honest sentence, because one honest sentence would bring them into contact with shame, and they are not built, at least not yet, to survive that contact in a healthy way, so instead they make everybody else dizzy. And yes, if you've ever been on the receiving end of that, you know how maddening it is. It's like being trapped in a conversation where one person brought facts and the other person brought smoke. 5. They need to win emotionally because they feel weak internally. Some people don't argue to understand. They argue to win the emotional position. That's different. They want to be the one who looks calmer, the one who looks innocent, the one who seems smarter, the one who leaves you flustered, the one who leaves you doubting yourself. That is emotional winning. And insecure people often become obsessed with it because internally they feel weak, so they need moments where they can feel stronger than someone else. Lying can do that. Manipulating can do that. Gaslighting can definitely do that. Because if they can make you react, explain, defend, or unravel while they sit back acting reasonable, they get a hit of psychological superiority. Again, not real superiority, a feeling, a temporary one. That's why arguments with these people often feel less like communication and more like some bizarre theatrical production where they absolutely must leave with the top position. Jung would likely say the ego becomes ruthless when it is insecure and over-identified with control. The insecure ego cannot simply be wrong and remain whole. It has to convert the whole situation into a game where it comes out on top somehow. So even if they know you're making sense, that doesn't matter. Sense is not the real currency. Power is. If power is the goal, then confusion becomes useful, distortion becomes useful, your emotional exhaustion becomes useful. And this is one of those moments where viewers usually go, wait, That's why some conversations feel impossible. Exactly, because the point was never truth. The point was dominance without looking dominant. That's why you leave feeling tired and strangely reduced. You were not in a conversation. You were inside somebody else's insecurity trying to win a costume contest. 6. They fear abandonment, but instead of being honest, they create control. This one surprises people because it softens the picture a little, but only a little. A lot of manipulative behavior is rooted in fear of abandonment. The person is afraid you'll leave, afraid you'll stop loving them, afraid you'll stop choosing them, afraid you'll see who they really are and walk away. But instead of becoming more honest, they become more controlling, because insecure people often don't know how to ask for reassurance cleanly. They don't know how to say, "I'm scared. I feel threatened. I need more honesty. I'm worried about losing you." That would require vulnerability, and vulnerability feels too naked. So instead, they lie to keep options open, manipulate to hold your attention, gaslight to keep you off balance, create emotional dependence, create confusion, create guilt. All of that becomes a twisted strategy for keeping connection without risking direct emotional truth. Jung would probably say, this is what happens when the fear of loss meets an underdeveloped capacity for conscious intimacy. The person wants closeness, but they are too defended to build it honestly. So they build control instead. And that control often destroys the very thing they were afraid to lose. That's the tragedy. Because many insecure people are not trying to become villains. They are trying to avoid pain. But the methods they choose create more pain than the truth ever would have. That's a huge thing to understand, because it explains why people can sabotage relationships they claim to care about. They think control is protection. They think distortion is safety. They think if they keep you confused enough, needy enough, guilty enough, invested enough, then you won't leave. But confused attachment is not love. That's fear using strategy, and it always costs more than people think. 7. They lie to preserve the false self, not the real self. This is the deepest layer. At some point, insecure people are no longer just protecting a moment. They are protecting a whole false self. A false self that says, I'm always right. I'm not needy. I'm not envious. I'm more mature than this. I'm the victim here. I'm too smart to be caught. I'm too good to be this petty. I'm not the kind of person who would do that. Now imagine reality collides with that false self. What happens? Instead of letting the false self crack, they start distorting reality around it. That's why some people can lie so boldly, manipulate so smoothly, gaslight so calmly, because they are not improvising in the moment as much as you think. They are serving the same internal structure over and over again. The false self must survive. Jung would probably say that the more disconnected a person is from their true self, the more violently they may defend the persona and everything surrounding it. Because if the persona collapses, they do not know what remains. That's terrifying. So yes, sometimes you are not fighting a single lie. You are fighting an entire inner architecture built on avoidance. And that's why it can feel endless. Every truth you name threatens the same structure. Every boundary you set threatens the same structure. Every moment of clear perception threatens the same structure. So they adapt, shift, twist, deny, reverse, project. Not because the details matter that much, because the false self is hungry and reality is not feeding it. That's why insecure people can be so committed to distortion even when it costs them relationships, credibility, peace, and respect. They are not protecting the real self. They are protecting the illusion they built because the real self still feels too unacceptable to face. That is the dark twist underneath so much manipulation. What does this mean for you? Now this part matters, because once you understand all of this, two things become very clear. First, not every liar is powerful. Not every manipulator is in control. Not every gaslighter is sophisticated. A lot of them are just terrified, fragmented, ashamed, and deeply committed to not feeling that directly. Second, you cannot heal this in them by explaining yourself better. That's important, because a lot of good people respond to manipulation by trying harder, explaining more, clarifying more, being even more fair, being even more patient. And sometimes that helps with a healthy person, but with someone who needs distortion to feel safe, your extra clarity can actually make them escalate, because now the threat is stronger. Jung wouldn't tell you to hate these people, but he also wouldn't tell you to hand them your mind. The real task is consciousness, to see the pattern without becoming consumed by it, to recognize when you are being pulled into someone else's psychological fog, to stop treating every manipulation like a misunderstanding that can be solved if only you say the perfect thing. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is stop dancing in somebody else's distortion. Stop arguing with obvious reality. Stop defending your memory every 5 minutes. Stop trying to be understood by someone who is more invested in control than truth. Because once you keep doing that, you start paying for their insecurity with your clarity, and that is too expensive. So why do insecure people lie, manipulate, and gaslight you? Because truth threatens the image they need to survive. Because direct honesty makes them feel too powerless. Because your clarity weakens their control. Because shame is unbearable to them. Because they need to win emotionally to compensate for inner weakness. Because fear of abandonment turns into control. And because at the deepest level, they are defending a false self they do not know how to live without. That's the truth. Not flattering, not pretty, but clarifying. And if you've been dealing with someone like this, I really want you to hold on to one thing. Their distortion is not proof that your perception is broken. A lot of the time, it is proof that your perception is threatening something they are desperate to keep hidden. And before I leave you, I want to bring that question back one more time, because I think this one could create a very real comment section. What was the first sign you noticed that someone was gaslighting or manipulating you? The denial, the confusion, the fake innocence, the blame shifting, or that weird feeling that every conversation left you doubting yourself a little more? That answer tells a story, and usually it tells it earlier than we wanted to admit. If this spoke to you, comment, "I trust what I saw."